We have 71 animals on site here, 12 different species and 12 special needs kiddos. We're a farm animal sanctuary, the Good Life Refuge. What we do is helping animals in need. Most of our kiddos come from abuse, neglect, or have been abandoned and find their safe haven here. So I was exposed to farm animals. I saw that there was a huge need and not a lot of places that could help because you need a specific setup for them, and they're not always the easiest animals to handle just because of their sheer size. We started in 2018 with 4 ducks that were abandoned at a local pond. They're still going strong and thriving. Our birds are the biggest intakes we have, with being just dumped in the wild or at ponds. The pond abandonment is often for ducks. They're so little and fussy and cute. You can let them swim in the sink, so they don't take up a lot of space. Ducks grow very, very fast. So within 4 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks, depends on the breed, they go from this to being almost full grown. So now the whole scenario changes because often people get these little ducklings on a whim, impulsively, without thinking ahead. They don't even have a garden or a backyard where they can set them up. They just have them in an apartment setting, right in the bathroom, whatsoever, which is all fine when they're little. It is kind of a mess. So they need to swim at least twice a day. And when they swim, and the bigger they get, the more they splash. So they put your bathroom underwater. Birds in general, they just poop a lot. When you have them indoors, you have to constantly change, and it's smelly. And once people get to the point where they're not as cute anymore, then often they just put them out in nature. And there's this myth around ducks. They're pretty good off when you just put them in a pond. I'm just going to release them in a pond when they get big. Ducks cannot fly. Domesticated ducks cannot fly. They're too heavy. So in the summer, they might survive a little while on a pond setting or some water setting because they can go out in the water and ditch predators that way. In the winter, when the ponds freeze over, there's no way for them to survive if they make it a night or two. And then the second is they are used to being fed by humans. They don't know how to fetch food. They know how to find it when you give it to them, but they don't know how to fetch food for themselves. So it's actually here in Colorado, it is a crime to abandon any animal, even livestock, but it's very common. And then with chickens, we have usually 2 scenarios. People get chickens. There's a 50% chance you get a rooster when you buy baby chicks. And most people that get baby chicks, they are not aware of that. It takes a while, probably 6 months, until they're to the point when they start growing. And then they're like, oops, I have a rooster. I'm in city limits. I'm not allowed to have a rooster. And then they're like, what am I going to do? And the harsh reality is that all the sanctuaries here in our area, they're at capacity. So these are the scenarios around abandonment, particularly with birds. For me, it was an eye-opener when I got exposed to farm animals a few years back. It's like how animals do life in general, how they're living the best they can, mostly until they can't anymore. So they're not frowning, they're not being dreadful, they're not being revengeful, they're not being angry. They just make the best out of every day they have.